Hey boys and girls, Chandler Bolt here. Excited to be here today. We're going to get things kicked off in just a couple minutes. Let everyone file in here. First off, if you could, just go ahead and post a note, post a comment to me in the chat box. Let me know A, that you can hear me, and B, that you can see my screen. And then also, after you do that, just post a comment with where you're tuning in from. All right, guys, if you're just joining us, we're going to get started here in just a minute or two. If you could just let me know, A, that you can hear me, and B, that you can see my screen, and then C, this is just kind of a little bonus where you're tuning in from. And I'm excited for this. It's going to be pretty fast-paced, and we're going to get kicked off here in just a bit. All right, and there's always a little delay here between what you guys hear and when you put your comments in versus when I get them. So that's always fun, kind of waiting that out. But we got a bunch of responses coming in. We got Darius from San Diego. Ken says can see and hear you from Austin, Texas. Melissa from Florida. Deborah from California. Awesome. Darius, I'm actually in San Diego as well. From South Carolina, but based out of San Diego. And Lewis House is in town tonight, too. He's having a book launch party. Not sure if you're going to that. All right, we got Sharon from New Mexico, Lorraine, Cape Town, Heidi, New Jersey, Robin from Idaho. Cool. We got a packed house today. These keep rolling in. Awesome. Glad to have you guys all here. I'm excited to kick off and to get into this. What we're going to be talking about today is how to write, market, and publish your first best-selling book in 90 days or less and use that book to grow a six-figure income. And really how to have your best year ever next year by writing and publishing your first book. That's what it's all about. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be moving fast-paced. So first thing I will say is go ahead and cut off any notifications, close out of Facebook or whatever you got going. I want your sole attention here. We're going to be moving fast. Go ahead and get a pen and paper out to take some notes because we're going to cover a lot of ground. So with that said, we'll go ahead and get kicked off. Now, on this webinar today, I know there's three types of people. There's some of you who are thinking about writing a book. Maybe you know you need to. You know it's that bucket list item for 2016. Others of you have maybe started writing a book. You've been sitting on that book for a while, and you just can't quite get it to the finish line. And then others still, maybe you've already written a book, but you just haven't put it out yet. So no matter where you are in the process, my goal today on this webinar is to help you take your life, confidence, and income to the next level by writing and publishing your first book, and to make 2016 your best year ever by accomplishing this goal for you. So stay to the end. I've got a pretty snazzy little software called Kindle Trend. I'll show you how you can get that for free. And before we get kicked in here, a little bit of background info about me if you don't know anything about me. I've written 5 best-selling books, first one at age 19. I've made $100 grand off of just one of my books. I've taught thousands of people to write and publish their first book through my program, Self-Publishing School, and all that despite being a C- English student. So I'm here to tell you if I can do it, you can too. I had English teachers all growing up that said I was a horrible writer. They marked up my papers. They said it was no good and that I shouldn't do writing. But lo and behold, ended up writing a lot of very successful books. So don't let that discourage you. We'll get to that a little bit later. Here's some of the books I've written, the 5 books I've written. And then also, if you've heard of the Self-Publishing Success Summit, that was an event we did back in July. We had over 30,000 people registered for that event. It was a packed house. It was just an awesome time with some great people talking about how books propelled their business, brand, and their following. Fun fact, my brother plays in the Grammy-nominated band Need to Breathe. We have any Need to Breathe fans in the house? It's always just kind of a fun little thing that not too many people know about me, but he's actually the one on the left-hand side with the rocker haircut. All right, so enough of that. Before we dig in here, I want to hear from you guys. So if you'll go ahead and post this in the chat box right now, let me know, why do you want to write a book? What's a book going to do for you? What would writing a book in 2016 do for you, for your goals, maybe for your business, for your income? What does that look like for you, and why are you interested in writing one? All right, we're rolling in here. So we've got Ken says income. Joanne says income and retirement. Cool. Charmaine says establish myself as authority, provide financial security. It'll help in so many ways. It's been my life mission, says Rebecca. Teach something of value to impart wisdom. Renee said, keep my promise to myself. Oh, that's a great one. Dan, a book will further my career as a writer. Tim says, to fulfill a dream I've had since 1979. Harriet says, get the message out, build community, and for money. Robin says, it started as a school project for my son. Cindy says, goals, positive, wholesome books for children. Aubrey says, financial freedom. Tess says, to encourage women. Awesome. This is still rolling in. Great stuff, guys. So obviously there's a lot of reasons to write a book, and there's a lot of things that your book will do for you when you get it written. And I want to just highlight a couple of those things up front. A book can give you passive income, so you do work once and you get paid on it forever. A book can help you break through as a side hustler or as an entrepreneur. It can help you gain confidence to take on bigger challenges. It can boost your income, give you publicity, authority, and respect, give you freedom. It can grow your business, and it can even just cross that write a book off of your bucket list once and for all. And excuse me, a lot of these things seem to be in line with what you guys are saying, with what you just put in the comments, and they're still flooding in. So thanks to each of you guys for commenting in there. So on this webinar, just to give you a little overview of what I'm going to cover, I'm going to cover 3 things. These are the 3 secrets that I've learned from writing multiple books and from helping thousands of people write their books. Now, number 1 is how to quickly and easily write your book in a few hours, even if you're working a couple jobs and raising 4 kids. So even if you're really busy. Secret number 2 is how to write the entire book without actually doing any writing. And then secret number 3 is how to sell it, make it a bestseller, and use it to grow a 6-figure income without a list, audience, or any marketing skills. So this is what we're going to cover here today. And I also have a special offer for my program, Self-Publishing School. It's not available to the public right now, but I'm going to cover that in about 5 minutes at the end. And then we've got a Q&A, so we'll open it up and you guys can ask any questions. So with that being said, feel free to post any questions throughout this webinar. And then also if I don't get to them for some reason at the end in the Q&A. So let's kick things off. The New York Times, you guys have probably heard this study or this stat. New York Times says that 81% of people want to write a book. And the sad part is that less than 1% of people actually do. So my question is, why do people think this is so difficult? Why do they see writing a book as being so difficult? Well, answer is they see this, dun, 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 the dreaded blank page, and they run like hell in the other direction because they just seem, it's so overwhelming. It's so complicated. You just don't even know where to start. Then what happens? Well, you come up with all these excuses, myths, doubts for why you haven't written your book yet. Say things like, I don't have time, or I'm not an expert, or what if this book fails? Is my book actually going to sell? Is it going to be a complete flop? I don't know where to start. Or maybe this is just going to be a waste of my time, or this is my personal favorite, the timing isn't right. Not right now, but someday. So these are excuses, myths, and doubts that most of you probably have and that most people have before they get started in this process. And it's really because of a lot of just false beliefs and false things that the public and publishers and agents and whatever else would have you to believe. So what I want to do before we get into the real meat of this is bust each and every one of these. So I don't have time. Well, I'm going to show you on this webinar how you can write your book in 30 minutes a day. I'm not an expert. Well, as Robert Kiyosaki says, the term's best-selling author, not best writing author. Will my book sell? Yes, it'll explode your income. I don't know where to start. Well, good news is you're in the right place. You're on this webinar, so you're going to have all the steps you need to start. It'll be a waste of my time. No, it'll actually be the best career move that you've ever made. And then the timing isn't right. I'll leave this one to the legendary Zig Ziglar, and he says, if you wait for all the lights to turn green, before starting your journey, you'll never leave your driveway. Now, I always think of going on a family vacation, and for us, it was a beat up old Suburban, and we were going out. We'd be going on a trip, say to Florida or something, and we'd be getting up in this beat up old Suburban. We got all the kids in the car. We got the dog, the luggage, all that stuff, and I just imagine going to the end of the driveway and saying, okay, all right, kids, we're going to go ahead and get started and head to this awesome vacation. But first, we just got to wait till all the lights turn green from here to Florida, or from here to our destination. And it sounds crazy, right? You would never do that. You just pull out of the driveway and you take it one stoplight at a time. But the crazy thing is, this is the way people see writing a book. They think, oh, I need to wait for the magical day where I'm free from all responsibilities. I'm free from kids. I'm free from my job. It's this magical yellow brick road that appears in front of me, and I can just easily write my book. Well, I've got news for you. That magical day will not come. The stars are not going to magically align where you can just one day write your book. You're going to have to get started before you're ready. So you're going to have to take that leap of faith, and you're going to have to dig in there and make time and carve out the time to get started on your book. It's not just going to happen. That's a conscious choice that you have to make. So my question to you, I just covered all these doubts, myths, and excuses. Can you suspend those at least for the length of this webinar? If you can, just put "I'm in." So type that in the chat box. And if you can't, no worries. Now would be a great time to exit the webinar, because if you can't, really anything that I teach you from here on out, it's not going to make any sense. Or you're going to kind of view it through the lens of, oh, maybe that would work for Chandler, but that's not going to work for me. Maybe that would work for those people that Chandler talked about, but I don't think you understand. I don't have time. I'm really busy. This excuse, myth, doubt, that none of it will make sense, and none of it will register. So awesome. We got Mia, Robin, Deborah spelled a different way, Cindy, Ruth, Ken, Harriet, I'm in, Dalton, cool. I'm in, my man. All right. In, baby. Aubrey, I love it. Sweet. So there we go. Good. Whew. We got those out of the way. Now it's time to get into the meat. So most people, the stuff I'm about to teach you, most people discover this the hard way. You guys are going to get to cheat. You get the easy way. And I just wanted to give you a little glimpse of this so that you could feel good. You can feel good about what you're missing out on, because it's not something you want to experience. I can promise you that. So the hard way, this is the way most people write a book. They start writing with a blank Word doc and without a plan. They write this long tell-all book, and they stumble through the process, and then finally launch the book with hope marketing and without a proven system to follow. Then the expensive way, this is the way the agents, the publishers, and all those people would like you to believe that this is how you write it, or this is how you have to publish a book. And that's spending years writing it, which is tens of thousands of dollars worth of your time, spending thousands of dollars on an editor, spending a bunch of money on formatting and design of the book, and then finally buying thousands of copies that sit in your closet and that you peddle off to people to buy. Well, the good news is you don't have to do it the hard way. You don't have to do it the expensive way, because that's what I'm going to get into right now. So here we go. Get your pad and pen or Word doc or whatever you're taking notes with. We're getting on to secret number 1, how to quickly and easily write your book in a few hours. Now, excuse me, let me take a quick sip of water. For this one, I'm going to talk about my book, Breaking Out of a Broken System. This is the very first book that I wrote, and me and my brother wrote this, the one that I showed you a second ago, and we wrote this book in 1 week, and it was 225 plus pages. Now, the method I used, I'm about to break this down, and that's mind map, outline, write. And with this method, you can easily get your book done in a month with 30 minutes to an hour a day. Excuse me. So here's how it works. Step 1 is the mind map. So I walked through this exercise this weekend with a group at Hal Elrod's Best Year Ever Blueprint Live. Hal Elrod's the author of The Miracle Morning, and it was really cool because I was able to see this happen in real time. I was able to see people going through this process. So we won't be able to do this on the webinar in real time, but you'll be able to do this right after the webinar's over. And that's creating your mind map, which is step one. So you'll break out a blank sheet of paper and you'll write your idea, your book idea, your passion, the thing that people keep asking you about, hobby, whatever you're thinking you might write your book on. You're gonna list that out in the center of this page. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna do a little tree graph. You're gonna just branch out and think about all the ideas, all the stories, all the examples, all the real life experiences, the books that you've read, anything that you can think of. You're gonna start writing that out on the page and then just branch out as that sparks more ideas. And this is just gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the important thing here is to have no filter. So you don't want to filter the ideas as they come to your head. You just want to list them out as they come to you, as you can think of it. So just list out your ideas, and this is just a time to get all your thoughts on paper. It's kind of a brain dump, if you will. And here's another example of a mind map. And I saw John said writing the book was the easy thing. Well, how to market is the hard part. Well, we're going to get to marketing here in a bit. I have a feeling for a lot of us on the webinar that the writing may even be the tough part. It just depends on the person. So here's another example of a mind map. You can see that this one's pretty organized. To be honest, most of them aren't this organized. So don't worry if it's not organized. It can be really messy. Now, you're going to take 15, 30, maybe even 45 minutes to do this mind map exercise. And what's going to happen, and this happens every single time people go through this process, I see it in their eyes, is they have an epiphany. And suddenly the book starts to write itself, because what you realize is you have tons more material than you think you do. There's tons of experiences. There's tons of stories. There's tons of knowledge up in that noggin of yours that you can get out onto paper. It's just a matter of tapping into it. And this is an exercise that draws that out. And most people will come to me and say, Chandler, I've got an idea that I can maybe write 5 to 10 pages on, but you know, I definitely couldn't write a book. Well, what happens when they go through this process is now they come back and they say, wow, Chandler, I've got 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 books, and I've just got to choose which one to write first. So much better problem to have. Now, moving into step 2, which is the outline. What you're going to do here is you're going to take the common themes, the common sections, the commonalities from your mind map, and you're going to start to organize that and give it a little structure. And that is going to be the basis for what forms your outline. And you can see this is an example, kind of hard to read, but you can see this is for breaking out of a broken system. And across the top, we broke it up into 5 different sections, starting with mindsets, then actions, and then going on into different sections. And then what we did is we broke out those sections into individual chapters. You can see this is kind of a messy part. We're moving stuff all over the place, but this starts to bring your ideas together, and it starts to give a roadmap, a chapter by chapter roadmap, a compass, if you will, that you can follow to write your book. So you're going to transition from that mind map into an outline. Now, I saw Brandy ask, does this apply to fiction as well as nonfiction? Yes, it does. And while this is better served towards nonfiction, it's the same principles apply, and you can modify this for fiction as well. It's just more of a story arc as opposed to step by step. Here's what I'm going to teach you. So it definitely works for both genres. So there you have it, step 2, and then step 3, write the dang thing. So most people think this is the hardest part. Why? We already talked about that, because they're staring at that blank sheet of paper. But what you're going to do is this makes it very simple. Is now that you have a chapter by chapter outline, you're going to be able to repeat this 3-step process 1 chapter at a time. So you'll take the first chapter and you'll mind map it for 10 minutes. Then you'll outline it for 10 minutes. And then you'll write for 40 to 60 minutes. And you'll do this chapter by chapter. And although it might feel a little rigid at first, it might feel a little weird. For most of you, it will. It'll feel kind of like pulling teeth up front. But once you get in there, once you get some momentum, it's going to get easier and easier and easier. And with this process, as you can see, it's very easy to get your book finished, because say you want the book to be 15 chapters. Well, with this method, That's about 15 hours worth of writing. So there you have it. You can do that and you can go step by step through the process. Now, maybe you're like me, maybe you've had someone say, hey, mind maps, or you've had someone tell you to do a mind map or an outline. But if you're like me, you said, that sounds stupid, kind of like a waste of time. Why would I do that when I can just start writing? Well, I can tell you it works. And I was a critic of this technique when I first started, but it opened my eyes. And also Hannah was. She said, I despise mind maps. Now I love it. I can see my book come to life without writing a single word of it. Went from 0 to 13,000 words in 2 weeks. So you can see this worked for Hannah, this worked for me, this worked for thousands of our students. So it can work for you too. Now, while everyone else is staring at that dreaded blank page, you'll be able to quickly flesh out your outline, and you'll be able to write your book easily because you already know exactly what to put on paper. You know what order to put it in. So it really does make the book writing process much, much easier. Now, the question I get is, what if you're bad at writing, or maybe you're just not a fan of it? Maybe you hate writing. Well, the good news is in step number 2, or in secret number 2, I'm going to show you how you can write the book without actually doing any writing. Now, I did this for my most recent book, and I didn't have to do any writing. I just spoke the book into my phone, then tweaked it, just 3 steps, and that book's brought in thousands of dollars in leads month after month. So here we have it, secret number 2, how to write the entire book without actually doing any writing. Now, before I move on to this, is everything making sense here, guys? Everything good so far? You guys getting this? Awesome. All right, we're moving and grooving. Let's do this. Number 2, how to speak your book in 3 steps. So, with this method, we're going to actually speak the book. Now, this works better for some of you who maybe are better speakers than writers, like I am. This can be really helpful. And the one little caveat I want to give up front is you need to do the mind map and outline first. So you need to mind map and outline the book, and then you can speak it pretty easily. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people make is they jump straight to the speaking part. And what happens? They ramble and ramble and ramble, and then they have no idea where they're going. And then next thing you know, they're in the middle of the book and they're like, I have no idea what just happened or where I'm going with this, and they scrap it. So it's important to have a roadmap that you can follow and then get into speaking the book. So you'll do the mind map and outline, then you're going to speak it. So you're going to go point by point through your outline. You can go chapter by chapter. You can speak it on the way to work. In your commute, you can speak it whenever. Then you're going to move into step 2, which is getting the book transcribed. So there's a lot of options for this. I'm sure you guys have probably heard of Dragon Dictation, or Siri does this, although I probably wouldn't recommend that. But there's all kinds of dictation services, a lot of them free and a lot of them automated that you can use. So there's really a lot of options here. But the one that I prefer is Rev. The reason being is because it's an actual person doing the transcription, so the quality is a lot better. So if you have a Southern accent like I do, or some kind of funny accent, then they'll understand you and they can transcribe it. Whereas a lot of these automated transcription services, they don't know what the heck you're saying, and it turns out kind of funny, which ends up just making extra work for you down the road. So it's rev.com, where there's a Rev app. They charge $1 per minute for transcription, so $1 per minute of audio, but they usually turn it around in 24 to 48 hours. So that's my preferred method, but there's tons of options here. Then you're going to move into step 3, which is to polish it off. So this is where you've got a lot to work with, and you can just polish it off. You can bring in an editor, or you can do this yourself. But I definitely recommend this 3rd step so that you make sure that your book is very high quality and that you get to add your personal touch to it. Now, the difference between speaking and writing the book, so between these first 2 methods that I've just outlined, is you're going to finally feel like you have momentum. Instead of staring at that dreaded blank Word doc, wanting to bang your head against the keyboard, now you've got text to work with. You can effortlessly write your book in a few hours, and then you just have to polish it off. So how quick can you have that rough draft finished? That's a question I always get asked, because you You're busy. I get it. You want to get this book out there. You want to get it out there soon and probably in 2016. So how quick can you do this? Well, ideal length of a book, and this is a nonfiction Kindle book that I'm using as an example here, is 15,000 to 25,000 words. A lot of my books I like to have kind of on the higher end of that spectrum. And if you're doing fiction, it can range anywhere from 30,000 to 60,000 words on the higher end, unless you're going for a super, super long fiction book, which I wouldn't recommend, especially for your first book. That doesn't really make much sense. But this is the ideal word count range that we're looking at. And then we'll take the average person who speaks at 150 words a minute. Unless you're like me, then you probably speak way faster than that. and doing some simple math here, you can easily speak your book in as little as 1 hour and 40 minutes up to 2 hours and 47 minutes. So you can see here, you can speak your book in a few hours and have it finished, or maybe not finished, but have your rough draft done. So then you just have to polish it, obviously, but that's a lot better, and you'll feel a lot better because you'll start to see the light at the end of the tunnel when you get that rough draft finished. And then, like I said, just polish it. Editing is 100 times easier because you already have a completed document to work with. Now, Pat Flynn, he runs a Smart Passive Income podcast and blog. He's a friend of mine here in San Diego, and he says, he uses this method, and he says, I've been able to flow much better with my voice than I am with my keyboard. I've got thousands of words coming out through each of these sessions through dictation. So it works for Pat. It works for me. I know it can work for you too if you just follow the steps that I just outlined. So this still making sense? Everybody tracking? Looks like people are loving it. Awesome. So now, okay, this is John was talking about this earlier, is the marketing is the hardest part for him. The writing's the easiest. Well, it depends on the person. But now that your book's done, now that you've followed these steps and used it to write your book, we're going to fast forward here to the marketing. This is secret number 3. So we're moving fast. I saw Dalton said totes. Awesome. This is totes making sense. All right. Well, secret number 3, how to sell the book, make it a bestseller, and use it to grow a 6-figure income without a list, audience, or any marketing skills. Now, the first thing I want to cover here is what I call the shotgun versus the rifle approach. And what I mean here, if you know anything about a shotgun, you know that there's a shell with a lot of BBs in it, and when you shoot a shotgun, it spreads kind of all over the place. And if you know anything about a rifle, you know that it's a singular bullet that travels down a long barrel, and that's why it allows you to hit a target from a mile away. So it's much more focused. And you may be asking yourself, Chandler, why the heck are you talking about shotguns and rifles? I know you're from the South, but come on, dude. What does it have to do with marketing a book? Well, I'll tell you what it does. Most people follow the shotgun approach. So they do everything that they can. So they hear, oh man, I need a Facebook page. So they do that. I need a Twitter page. So they do that. I need to have a landing page. I need to have an email list. And it's all these things that they hear these gurus talking about that they need to do. And so what happens, they get spread way too thin. You've probably heard the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. Well, that's what happens here. And then the rifle approach, that's more of the 80-20 approach. So it's the fact that 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your efforts. So what I want you to do as you're marketing your book is focus in on that 20% of efforts that's going to yield 80% of the results. So focus in on only the stuff that matters, only the stuff that moves the needle. Less is more. You're going to get much further by focusing on those few things that move the needle. And that's what I'm going to show you, the few things that actually make a difference. Now, before we get into the meat of the marketing section of this presentation, the first things first, you need to purpose your book. So none of the marketing stuff that I'm going to teach you matters if you don't have a purpose for your book, because that's going to kind of guide you. That's going to be your compass, if you will, your rudder as you go through this marketing stuff, and you'll make decisions based on that purpose. Meaning, what do you want this book to do for you? Now, this is not to be confused with the purpose of the book for your reader, because there's the purpose for the reader, which is what do you want the reader to get out of this? And then there's the purpose for you, which is what do you want this book to do for you? So that's what we're going to do up front. So think about what you talked about, or what you put in the chat box at the beginning of this webinar. Was it passive income, leads, authority? Was it a passion project, information that you just have to get out there? Business growth, to grow your network, or a glorified business card. What is that for you? Think about that, and then think about that throughout this marketing section. So I'm going to give you some examples of how purpose will affect your marketing. So for one of my first books, The Productive Person, the purpose of that book was authority in growing my network. So it was a glorified business card. I knew that I wanted to establish myself as an authority on the subject. So as they say, a book is the new business card. So rather than handing out business cards that people are just going to throw away, you can hand out a book, and that's going to stick with them. And every time they see that book, they're going to think of you, and it's going to jog their memory about you and about what you do. And for some reason, people just feel bad about throwing away books, right? So that was the purpose. And even then, the book still brought in $5,000 a month and 4,000 leads. Now I'll take a different book. This is a totally different angle. This book was breaking out of a broken system. So the purpose of that book was charity. It was a complete passion project for me. So the tagline with that was one book, one life. So you buy one book, all the proceeds went to charity, and that would cover a life-saving malaria pill for someone in a third world country. So buy one book, save one life. This was a charity project, something my brother and I were really passionate about. And we just wanted to get this message out to the world. So that affected how we priced the book. That affected how we marketed the book, and the whole marketing theme behind it. Then we've got book launch. I'm going to show you a couple case studies coming up, so you'll see book launch. But the purpose for this book was for leads and authority and to grow my business, which I've got some stats coming up that I'll show you on that. So those are examples of how purposes or how your book purpose will affect your marketing. Now we're going to get into a case study. All right. So I choose this case study because The Productive Person, this was the first book that I put out, and I really had all those excuses that we talked about at the top of this webinar, those excuses that we've promised to bury, at least for the length of this webinar, that things like I'm not an expert, I don't have time, why would people listen to me, all those things. I didn't have an email list, I didn't have a following or anything like that. And despite all of that, the book still went to #1 on Amazon. We topped David Allen's Getting Things Done, the Productivity Bible, and we reigned on top of Amazon for all of time management for a long time. You can see it's also on the screen, top of hot new releases and top of top rated. And the book started selling 80, 100, 170 copies per day, each and every day. And it was pretty amazing. This was when we realized that this book was a success. And we realized that, hey, this isn't just my mom and my grandma and like their friends buying the book anymore. This is people all around the world buying this book and getting value from it. And that was a pretty cool feeling. And before we get into this case study, I'll tell you a quick story here. So I decided to drop out of school. I got tired of learning how to run a business from professors who had never ran a business. That didn't really make much sense to me. Crazy concept, right? So I decided to drop out of school, and right before I did, I was studying abroad. It was kind of a cheap way to see some of Europe on the school's dime, and I went over there and I was snowboarding. And this is about the time that we put out the book, The Productive Person. And if you look to the right-hand side of this picture, you'll see a chairlift. And I was on that ski lift with some friends. And one of the friends asked, he said, Chandler, I heard you put out this book. I hear it's really successful. This is exciting. Like, I can't believe you wrote a book. But the question he asked me, and the question that stuck with me, is he said, is this book actually making any money? Like, I hear books don't really make any money. And, I thought about it for a second. And I said, well, you know what? We were snowboarding all day yesterday. And while we were snowboarding, the book brought in $400. And it was as if, as I said that, as those words came out of my mouth, that I realized what had just happened. This is that mystical passive income thing that people talked about. I did work once, and I was going to get paid on this forever. And not only that, but I was making money while I sleep. I was making money while I had fun snowboarding. I was making money while I was doing things that I enjoyed doing, all from work that I did once. And the light bulb went off in my head. It's one of those things where once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know, once you get that taste, it's kind of hard to turn away from it. And that all this happened despite having zero audience, anything. So I'm going to show you how we did it. Now, to answer his question, did it make any money? Yes. Well, month one, it brought in $6,639. Month two, $4,400. Month three, $3,100. Month four, $2,500. Month five, $3,400. And the book kept bringing in income month after month after month. So the book actually helped keep my head above water when I dropped out of school and when I was starting my business. The book paid the bills month after month after month. And you can see here's the exact payments coming in from Amazon into the bank account. Pretty cool, huh? So here's how we did it. 3 steps, and I'm going to break down in detail. Step 1, how to build buzz before the launch. Step 2, how to position your book for success. Step 3, how to execute the launch and have a strong start. So step 1, building buzz. This is all about getting the word out there and letting people know about the book before you release it. Now, a mistake that most people make is they wait till a week before their book comes out, and that's the first time they tell anyone about the book because they were so scared while they were writing it, then they didn't even know if it would get finished. And so they wait till right before it comes out, and they say, hey, my book's coming out next week. Mark it on your calendars, buy it, leave a review, share it, you know, share it with your friends, whatever. And they just ask. And there's no buzz being built. There's no buy-in. So I like to think of this kind of like how movies do the red carpet specials. You know, they make you feel like you have a behind the scenes, and there's all this buildup. They release the trailer. They release some little teasers for the movie, and then by the time the movie comes out, you're so pumped. You're waiting for the day that it hits theaters, and you go to the theater and watch it. Well, the same thing should happen with your book. And you might ask, well, how do I do that? Well, there's lots of ways. And really what it comes down to is giving value and getting people involved. So you can do like we did. We had people vote on the title, had people vote on the cover. We were taking goofy pictures behind the scenes of writing this book and just making a lot of non-marketing posts leading up to the book launch. So and I've got a couple people saying that you can't hear me. I think this might just be a one-off issue for you, Robin, but just let me know if you can't hear me. I'll just keep going here since there's a little bit of a lag. But so you're making people feel involved up front, and it's kind of like Gary Vaynerchuk's, he talks about jab, 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 right hook. So basically give value, give value, give value, then ask for the sale. Well, that's what you're doing here. You're doing a lot of non-marketing posts and awareness posts so that when the book finally comes out, people feel like it's their book that's being launched, not just your book that's being launched. So they're excited because they feel like they've had a part in putting the book together. So step 2, positioning your book for success. Awesome. Awesome, cool. It looks like people can hear me. That's good. So positioning your book for success, what we're going to do for starters is we're going to focus only on Amazon, at least at first, because Amazon is where 70% of all book purchases go. So 70% of all books sold are sold through Amazon. You see bookstores shutting down left and right, and Amazon is just becoming a mammoth in terms of moving books. So we're going to tap into Amazon. We're going to take the rifle approach and focus in on them. And then, all right, I see some comments. Yeah, so how do you join the chat? Yeah, so the chat is you just type in and I get those messages. So to answer your question, Cassandra. Now, step 2 in here, go into a market where books already exist. A lot of people think, oh, the book I want to write, there's already a bunch of books like it, or there's already a bunch of books in this market. Is that a bad thing? No, it's actually a green light that you should write that book. So we went into time management, which is a very crowded category, and we niched down and kind of carved out our niche in that category. So it doesn't matter if there's 2 books on your topic, if there's 2,000 books on your topic, you can go into markets where books already exist and your book will sell. So it's not a necessity to go into a market where books already exist, but don't let that scare you off. And you're also going to model what's working. So you're going to see what other people are using for their covers, for their keywords, for their categories. And you're going to model a little bit of that for yourself. Then lastly, you're going to get specific. So you're going to niche down. As they say, the riches are in the niches. And so you're going to get more specific. What I mean by this is, so like I just said a second ago, for our book, The Productive Person, on time management, we drilled down a little further and we said productivity hacks for entrepreneurs or for people who control their own schedule. So that's much more specific. We're speaking to a much more specific audience. So that's how you do that. You're going to drill down. And just one more example here. We had one of our students was writing a book. It was how to live the life of your dreams, fulfill your passion, and all that stuff. And I had her to drill down because I said, hey, I have no idea what your book's about. How can we get more specific than this? And what she came down to was what she really wanted to say is how to quit the job that you hate and start a small business you love. So see the difference there? It's much more specific. All right, step 3, we're going to execute the launch. Now, one of the best ways I know to do this is to form a launch team of family and friends. Now, a launch team is basically a group of people who support your book. And the best way to do this is to put out an application or an inquiry early on, and you ask people if they want to join your launch team. Now, what they agree to do is they agree to read the book up front. They agree to give it a review on Amazon on launch day or during launch week. They also agree to give feedback and to help you market the book and then spread it as much as they can. So that's what they agree to. What do they get? They're going to get to see the behind the scenes of a successful book launch. They're going to get to surround themselves, with like-minded people who are also interested in the same thing. If they support your passion or your, the purpose behind your book, they're going to get the fulfillment from doing that. You could put their name in the book. People love that. And there's all kinds of other things that you can give them. So a lot of people are hesitant to do this because they feel like they're asking for a huge favor. But what I want to let you know here is that people are happy to help, and they actually love helping. So they love to help you out. And actually, most people are living vicariously through you because they want to write a book too. They're in that 81% of people who want to write it, but they're just too scared to do it for themselves. So when they see you doing it, they get excited and they think, oh, wow, what can I do to help this person? So form a launch team, get as many reviews as possible. This is really going to be helped by the launch team. They're going to help you get a lot of reviews. Focus your efforts on week 1. It's important to have a strong start and to come out of the gates. Because what's going to happen is if you have a strong start with your book, Amazon's going to help you there. You're going to get what I call Amazon juice. So they're going to start to put up ads about your book. They're going to start to email people about your book. And you're really going to get some help from the ecosystem that is Amazon. So there's billions of people in there buying stuff, and you're going to be able to tap into that. So just to recap here, step 1, build buzz before the launch. Step 2, position your book for success. Step 3, execute the launch. Well, the result here, with no audience, no following, no anything, we got 5,247 downloads in 3.5 days, and it brought in $6,639 in month 1. Not only that, that was just the tip of the iceberg. Because of my book, I got interviewed for top podcasts. I got featured on the Huffington Post. I got offered a 6 to 7 figure digital publishing deal. I built a 4,000 person email list. I started a product line on the back end, and this is the one that not many people talk about, but my book finally gave me confidence in what I was doing. It gave me confidence to take on bigger projects and bigger opportunities, because before this book, I didn't believe in myself that much. A lot of the side projects that I'd done, they failed, they didn't work out. I'm sure many of you can relate. It's just that frustrating feeling of not having what you're doing catch on. And I just remember the feeling when I put my book out. It was, my friends thought it was cool. My parents thought it was awesome. They were proud of me. They were bragging on me. And all these things, like I said, sounds funny to say out loud, but they really add up, and you start to have confidence in what you're doing again. And that's what will happen for you as well when you get your book finished. So the question I get is, it's the chicken or the egg. Everyone's saying you need to build a list before you do a book, but the reality is you don't need to do that. You don't need a list or an audience, because the book's going to build that for you. So just wanted to kind of bust that myth right here. Now, what happens when you follow these steps, when you follow these 3 secrets that I just outlined in this webinar today? Well, here's what happens. I'm going to break down some more case studies. Book launch. So this is a recent book that I did. I followed the steps that I just showed you. What happened? The book brought in 3,334 leads, so email addresses, to my email list in the first 55 days. Then it also brought in $92,228.50 in the first 55 days just from back-end products. So just in additional revenue for my business, not even counting the book royalties. So the book royalties pushed this well over $100,000. So you can see what can happen when you follow these steps. Now, not only that, but the book helped me get featured on Business Insider. This is the Your Money section, the homepage here, and it was featured right there. And this was a story all about how I dropped out of school, started self-publishing school, wrote this book, and how we're on track to do $1 million, which we've since passed. We're about a 1.3 million for the year, which is largely in part of because we put out 2 books this year, and that's just exploded our business. So you can see the kind of the tangible things that come off the back end of your book. Now here's some other examples. This is John Lee Dumas, Entrepreneur on Fire podcast. Now before he went through these steps, his book was on Amazon. It was bringing in 0, maybe 1 lead a day. After, it brought in 5 to 10 leads a day and an extra $600 to $1,200 a day in revenue for Podcasters Paradise. Now, we had a fiction question earlier in the webinar. Steve Windsor, he's a fiction guy. He said, I've produced more in the past week than in the past 6 months. Now, before going through these steps, before committing to writing a book, he dreamed of being an author. He never stuck with it. But after he wrote multiple books, brought in $5,500 in book revenue, add in some book-related income, and he averaged $3,000 a month in passive income. Then we've got Lise. She said, I spent 6 months on the sidelines. She was trading her hours for dollars. I'm sure many of us can relate. She spent months trying to figure it out. Maybe it was that bucket list item that we just couldn't kick. But after she went through these steps, she became a best-selling author. She made $12,424 in passive income within the first 3 to 4 months. Add that in, even more in book-related income, bringing in an average monthly passive income of $3,000 to $4,000 a month. Pretty cool, huh? It'd be pretty awesome to do that work once, to get over those fears, to get off the sidelines and make some passive income. And it'd be pretty neat, huh? So how do they do it? They had a step-by-step blueprint for success, just like I've showed you on this webinar. Now, I imagine we've been moving real fast and we opened up, I opened up the floodgates, and it's probably felt like you're drinking water from a fire hose, just all kinds of information coming at you for the last 47 minutes or so. Well, if the webinar felt like this, and if you've learned this much in under an hour, how much easier and how much faster could you write your first book if you had the same system that they followed? How much easier would it be if you had self-publishing school? So I told you at the top of this webinar, I'm going to take a couple minutes. I've put together a special offer just for you guys on this webinar, kind of a pre-New Year's special for you. So I'm going to take a couple minutes and explain about what self-publishing school is, and then we'll open up to Q&A. So self-publishing school, it's the only tested, proven 90-day system that guides you step-by-step through writing your book, publishing it, and turning it into a bestseller, and then leveraging that book to get success, income, and more freedom. It's everything you need to know to become a bestseller from A to Z. So it's step-by-step. We've got video training, we've got PDFs, outlines, templates, you name it. You can go from book idea to bestseller in 90 days. Now, we've also got some built-in accountability and coaching. I'll tell you about that in just a sec. Now, I know this system gets results. I've used it to write 5 best-selling books, to build a 7-figure business, and to help thousands of other people with their books, to help them get their message out there and to change their life through a book, all in just 2 years. It's worked for failed writers, bucket listers, aspiring entrepreneurs, coaches and speakers, financial advisors, you name it. It's worked for pretty much everyone across the gamut. It's worked for Chelsea Miller. She was a 20-year-old college student in a small town in West Virginia. People told her that she'd never write a book, that she'd never become an author, and she'd never written more than a short-term paper. But she said, you know what? I'm going to prove you guys wrong. I'm going to join self-publishing school. She found her book idea, wrote the book, and launched it in 11 weeks. And then she got featured in Women's World magazine. So pretty cool, huh? So now some would say it's better than House of Cards. Well, that's what Hannah said. She said, I just want to share how much this community has been a great influence in my life. I start writing immediately when I get home rather than pacing throughout my house, doing nothing or binge watching House of Cards. I haven't had much to look forward to in a while. SPS has breathed a new life in me. It's one of the best damn investments I've ever made. You rock. So in addition to self-publishing school lifetime access, I've thrown in a few bonuses here for you guys, make this kind of a no-brainer. We've got our easy editing and book finishing masterclass. So this will help you easily find and hire an editor. It'll help you cut the time down. It'll help you finish your book in record time. I've got our bestseller book launch blueprint. So this is the exact process we use. Proven email templates, the book marketing checklist. It's our guaranteed formula for hitting #1 with your book. So just to recap, you're going to get lifetime access to self-publishing school, easy editing and book finishing masterclass, and then our bestseller book launch blueprint. Total value $4,491. But what else? What else might you need? I tried to throw in some bonuses here for you guys. So how about some outsourcers? How about some people to do some of this work for you? So our 18 outsourcers list. Now, these are our unlisted team of experts, some of the best kept secrets in the industry. They're people who do the work for you. It's going to save you tons of time, tons of money. It's rock bottom prices, but really, really good work. So these are people we've vetted, we use for our own books. I'm working on book number 6 right now that we're going for New York Times, and these are the exact people we use, the exact people our students use. And even just one example of this, using one of these people instantly saved one student $1,000 just on editing. So it can save you a lot of money, a lot of hassle. Now, these are book cover designers, editors, formatters, ghostwriters, you name it, anything you can think of. What else might you need? How about some accountability and community? You probably know that one of the biggest secrets to getting your book done is having someone holding you accountable, having a community of like-minded people who help you get your book out. So I'm going to give you a free month of our mastermind community and accountability group. This is a $297 value, and you can see we've got some awesome people in there. We've got Sean Sumner, our community manager. We've got coaches in there. We've got experts in there, all kinds of people inside the community. Now, you'll get paired up with what we call an accountability buddy. That's just our funny word for an accountability partner. We'll have weekly training and Q&A calls. So these are Google Hangouts with me, with the community manager. We bring a student on. I mean, it's all kinds of questions getting answered. You can put in your questions each and every week. It's a lot of fun. We actually have one of these tonight. So we've got that. And then this is one of the most powerful parts is the SPS review list. So this is a group of people who are there to support your book when it comes out. We announce all the book launches that are happening in the community, and then people go check out the books, leave a review, all that stuff, which helps you have a successful launch. Now, what else do you need? Look at this poor kid here. How about some personal coaching? I've put together a personal coaching package and strategy session for you guys as part of this special package on this webinar. Now, this is a $1,700 value. You're going to get assigned a personal coach based on your needs. This is a trained coach and a successful student. So someone who's been through the process, they've been through our certification process. You're going to get 8 one-on-one calls with it, and then a strategy session with me. Now, just to show you the power of coaching, Janine said, Monday, I wasn't feeling like a writer. That was before my masterclass call. After we talked, the blinders came off and I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I dragged myself out of bed, 10,000 words completed. I just lived through a life-changing experience. So it's really, really, really powerful. And these coaches, they'll help you get your book finished and they'll help you get it out there and get it done successfully. So just to recap here, all the things I mentioned earlier, threw in the outsourcers bonus. We got a free month for the community, a personal coaching and strategy session, total value of $7,985. Now, obviously I'm not gonna charge you that, but I think it's worth every penny if I did. And just imagine if all this did was help make you passive income every single month, like Steve, like Lise, like John Lee Dumas, like all the people I mentioned earlier. Would it be worth that price tag? If all it did was help you finally get your first book out, would it be worth it? If all it did was help you bring thousands in client and business revenue, would it be worth it? What if it saved you tons of time, frustration, money throughout the process? Would it be worth it? What if it gave you bigger confidence and bigger opportunities? If it just did that, would it be worth it? Well, you can see why it's a good deal at $7,985. And when we offered this to the public, we offered it for $2,997. But because you guys are on this webinar, because you're looking to have an awesome 2016, I've got a special deal for you. If you get started today, if you register on this webinar, you can get started for just $19.97. All you have to do is go to self-publishingschool.com/webinar. Check it out. We also have some payment options here. I just put this in the chat box. We got some payment options that make this more affordable. You can spread out the payments. We also have a cheaper option if you don't need some of the bonuses or the hand holding and stuff like that you can check out as well. So all the details for everything is on this page, self-publishingschool.com/webinar. Now, we're going to get into a Q&A here in just a second. Just a couple more things. If you buy on this webinar today, you're going to get lifetime access to Kindle Trend. This is a snazzy little software, value of $444 a year. And actually, lifetime access isn't available to the public. So this is a special deal that we've worked out with the folks over at Kindle Trend. It costs $37 a month, but you get lifetime access for free. So just to recap, what you're going to get: lifetime access to Self-Publishing School. You're going to get all these bonuses, including Kindle Trend, $10,205 value for just $19.97 when you sign up today. So go over to the site there, check it out. Go ahead and select which option's best for you. You can put your information in there, and then once you sign up, come back here, comment in the chat box, let me know that you did, and we'll make sure that you get Kindle Trend. We'll make sure that you get all of these bonuses. So there you have it. There's Self-Publishing School. Go ahead and check it out at that link. Also, when you sign up, you'll get all the details. We'll bring in the community, all that good stuff. Now, one thing I do like to stress here is this is truly an A to Z program. So this is from Emily Rose. She's one of our students. She said, out of all the substantial investments I've made in online business trainings and courses, this is the only program that actually took me from A to Z. The course is laid out so precisely and is simply structured so you can just follow the steps and you'll be successful. Thank you for reviving my faith in online business programs. So I hear this time and time again from our students. They go through the program, they come out on the other side, they have a tangible result. They have a book in their hands, something that's making them money, something that's giving them more business opportunities, giving them confidence, you name it. It really is just such a powerful process, and that's why you can probably tell that I'm so passionate about this. I love this stuff. I get jazzed up about this because I know that a book changed my life, and I've seen it change so many other people's lives. Now, if you run a business like Steve Darr, Steve said, hey, I put out my book and I'm starting to quote potential clients 3 times the amount I used to. I used to struggle to get clients and didn't have any passive income or book royalties, but now 4 months later, after the launch of my book, I've got $1,500 in book royalties and $17,000 in client work. Not only that, but I tripled my rates. Pretty cool, huh? It's pretty awesome results. Christy Whitman hit #9 on the New York Times list. She used the launch team strategy. She had an audience already, so obviously she had a little bit of head start on some of us, but she used that and she hit number 9 on the New York Times list. So if you're on the webinar today, you got 2 choices. You can do nothing, not check out the program. It's 100% risk-free, or you can just check it out. We've got a money-back guarantee. You can decide whether it's right for you within that 30 days. And if it's not the best investment that you've ever made in yourself, if it's not the best investment that you've ever made in an online training, you can get your money back and just ask for it and you'll get it. Doesn't matter if you don't like it for any reason, just let us know. We'll give you your money back. So there's absolutely 0 risk for you to check this out. So just head on over to self-publishingschool.com/webinar. One more thing, we'll get into the Q&A. I asked a question back on the Self-Publishing Success Summit. I asked some of the speakers, I said, what do you recommend for someone thinking about writing their first book? And I asked this question, and here's what some of them said. I figured this would be helpful to get their advice in here. And Brian Tracy, I'm actually reading Brian Tracy's book right now. It's Eat That Frog. He's got a ton of books, but Eat That Frog is one of his more successful books, and it's really good. But he said, nobody would expect to go into a kitchen and cook a dish without a recipe. Chandler, you and I teach recipes. We teach people how to. You can save yourself years of hard work by simply learning how to do it. So learn how and learn from you, Chandler, because the very fastest way to get started in publishing is through self-publishing. So that was his advice to first-time authors. Pat Flynn, he's got a book coming out soon. And he said, get someone to help you and hold you accountable. I think that's the most important thing. Well, he practices what he preaches. He's got an SPS student that's helping him finish his upcoming book. That's his writing coach. Then Jamie Tardy of Eventual Millionaire, she said, I could have done that in about 3 months and it took me 2 years. Learn from someone else who has done this before. Learn from other people so you don't waste your time. Well, here's just a quick recap. Everything you're going to get if you sign up for Self-Publishing School today. All this total value $10,205 for just $19.97. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and dive into a Q&A here. You'll just go ahead and post your questions in the chat box, especially if you posted them earlier in the webinar and I didn't get them, or if you just have questions about anything I taught about Self-Publishing School, you name it. We're going to take some time here and answer some questions. All right, let me take a sip of water. All right, we've got the question here. Will this work for a novel or fiction book or a children's book? Yes, absolutely. We've got coaches all over the world, and we actually have a fiction coach in our program that coaches specifically on this. So yes, and like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the principles are the same. It's just it's just the tactics that'll be slightly different and that you'll just adopt. So we've got tons of fictioneers, as we call them, in the program working on their stuff, and there's a whole subset of the community that's working on that kind of stuff. So yes, absolutely. Okay, really busy. How much time will this take? Well, I kind of outlined that earlier in the webinar. But all you have to do is carve out 30 minutes to an hour a day, and you can get your book written in 3 months, and you can get it launched. Or you can get your book written in 1 month, and you can get it launched in 3 months. So that's kind of the timeline. But that being said, I mean, you'll have lifetime access to Self-Publishing School. This is something that we're not going to offer for much longer, but you will have lifetime access, so you can go back at any time. It doesn't matter if you're busy. It doesn't matter if you have the holidays coming up. If you just know that it's gonna be a little bit tough to get in there. Maybe you got a vacation plan or something. That's totally fine. You work at your own pace, and there's no pressure to finish in that time frame. Okay, these are great. Excuse me. These are great questions, guys. Keep them coming. Oh, good one. Do you guys take any commission off my book sales? No, absolutely not. That's the best part. You get to keep all the money that you earn from your books. So we're not a publisher. In fact, at Self-Publishing School, one of our missions is to put the publishers out of business, because we feel like it's a really broken model. You know, if some of you may have experience with this. If you go to a publisher, it's going to take you 2 years to get the book finished. They're going to strip you of all creative liberties. They're going to give you an editor that's probably not that good. I've heard horror stories about that. They're going to take most of the book royalties, and then lastly, they're going to do zero marketing for your book. That's one thing not many people know, that you still have to do all the marketing. So it's just a broken model, and one that we don't believe in. So no, we give you all the tools, and you get to keep 100% of the profits. All right. Oh, do I have to live in the U.S.? Absolutely not. No, I saw we have some people from Brisbane. We have some people kind of all over the world on this even just this webinar. But we've got students all over the world. In fact, gosh, a week and a half or so, maybe 2 weeks, we had a meetup in India from Accountability Buddies. One of them that was in New Zealand, and the other one that was in India. And him and his family actually flew from New Zealand to meet up with his accountability buddy in India, which I just thought was so cool. I mean, a couple months back, we had a meetup in Australia. Like, we've got meetups happening all over, and we've got students all around the world. Awesome. Cindy, kind of in the similar question. Do we retain all our rights, including movie and international? Yep. All right. Oh, great question. So Rebecca asked, do you recommend working in Scrivener? You can, it's not necessary. I recommend working on whatever platform will help you get started writing the fastest. So whatever that looks like for you, use that. A lot, if you get into Scrivener, for some people it can be confusing. And so they just give up. And then not only that, but they give up on writing too. So just the easiest, I'm all about the lowest barrier to entry to get started with your writing. So do that. Do whatever you have to do. I mean, I like Scrivener coach Joseph Michael. He has a program called Learn Scrivener Fast. I like that if you're diving into Scrivener, but really for your first book, I would just recommend using Google Docs, using Microsoft Word, whatever you got to do. I mean, that's what I use for my first couple books, and it works just fine. Oh, cool. Leslie asked, is it too late to market my book well if my book's already on Amazon? I didn't launch it like you said to do. So this is a great question, Leslie, because we have a lot of people join the program even after they've launched a book, and some even after they've launched a bunch of books, because they just want to learn how to actually market it right, because that's what I'm really good at. That's what I love. That's what I could teach all day. I mean, it's just a blast for me, and it's a skill or a native genius, if you will. And so we have people do that, and that's perfectly fine. Like, there's a couple options. You can relaunch the book. So you can get a new cover, you can change the categories, the keywords, stuff like that, and relaunch the current one. Or some people will come in and write a new book with the program. And for some people, that's just easier, because once you've gone through the process once, you know what you've screwed up, you know what you've done right, you've learned the process. And that's the cool thing about this, is you can repeat it over and over and over again. It's not hard once you've done it the first time. It's just hard to get over that first hurdle. All right. Oh, awesome. Looks like we got some people joining already. Congratulations. Welcome. Welcome to the program. All right. Let's see. Apparently I said something funny a while back. Everyone's saying LOL or rolling on the floor laughing. All right. Awesome. Thanks, John. John says, give you credit for lighting a fire under me and getting my first book through rough draft. Oh, that's awesome. I recommend you to tons of my friends. That's cool. Thank you, John. All right. Let's see what else. So Robin says, I missed all of Build Buzz. Could you recap? So Build Buzz, it's all about kind of raising awareness about your book before it launches. So it's all about getting people excited, having them vote on your cover, have them vote on your title, whatever. So it's giving and in a non-marketing way. and then also getting people involved so that by the time you launch the book, they feel like it's their book that's being launched. And that kind of leads into Rebecca's question, or sorry, Renee. Yeah, about, oh no, her question is actually different. But anyway, that leads into your launch team. And so building the launch team is going to really help you kind of get off the ground. So building a launch team can help you build buzz. That's what I'm trying to say. You're distracted by all these questions coming in. Sorry. Cool. Just had somebody else join. Welcome. And keep your questions coming. Oh, cool. Mia said, I'm in Canada and I want to sell to people in the US and Canada. Can I do that through Amazon? Absolutely, Mia. You can build it, or sorry, you can sell it either way. You can actually sell it in US, Canada, and in all the other major Amazon stores. So we're talking France, Brazil, India, Australia. There's, gosh, too many to name and too many that I can't remember right now. But you can sell them in all the different stores. Okay. Oh, cool. So a couple of people asked about an ISBN. RL says, what's the deal with the ISBN? Own it or not? Does it matter? Depends on the purpose of your book, RL. If you're going hard copy, especially with your first one, I recommend going through CreateSpace, which is a division of Amazon, which they make it so easy, and you actually don't have to pay anything to submit a book into CreateSpace. And then they'll do POD, which means print on demand, which is really cool because someone can order your book from Amazon and they will print it, package it, and ship it, and just send you a check, which is really cool. Because I imagine like you don't want to be a book fulfillment center and you don't want to have like stacks of books at your house and then run to the post office all the time. So they'll do all that for you. They'll also provide you with an ISBN, CreateSpace based ISBN. So you can do that, or you can buy an ISBN through other services. They're not super expensive. And the only reason that would come into play is if you're looking to go for book scan, which is if you're going for if you're going for New York Times, which, I mean, New York Times, it's pretty intense to hit. You have to sell over 11,000 copies in the first week, and even then, it's not a guarantee. So to answer your question, you can do it that way. Or ISBNs aren't super important in terms of book tracking. Especially if you're just looking to get your first book out there, I recommend going through CreateSpace. Okay, great question, Tracy. How do you come up with ideas for books? So there's all kinds of ways. You can think about, what's your passion? What do people always ask you about? What do you find yourself talking about a lot? What do people say, Tracy, I go to her to talk about this? What are your hobbies, things that you have a lot of information about? So you can even brainstorm those in the mind map fashion and then start seeing what you're thinking about. And that will help with that. Or think about, what do I want this book to do for me? Is it to grow my business? Then chances are you want to write a book that's about the kind of stuff that you do with your business. But there's all kinds of ways to do that, and mainly the ones that I just listed. Awesome. Caleb asked, can you build your business with a fiction book? I'm not sure what you mean here in terms of like, can you use a fiction book to directly build your business? I mean, I'm sure you can. It wouldn't be the most effective strategy to directly build your business, but you can build an audience that way. I mean, unless you're asking, can you build a fiction book business? Then that's absolutely yes. The way it kind of works is nonfiction it's easier to like make money faster and to, write a book, put it out there and have it sell quickly. Fiction's more of a long game. So fiction's more of a, people in that genre, they care about how many books have you written? What do those have for reviews? What are other people saying about those books? Stuff like that. And so that's more of a long tail. So basically, a lot of times you have to write multiple books before you start to get some traction on the fiction side. But that being said, the high side is, the upside is way bigger. Like the top earners on Amazon are fiction authors. You know, it's they just make so much money. So there's kind of a trade-off between the two. Awesome, Aubrey. Great. She said, I'm so excited. Just need to make myself do this. I've got an inspirational story to share. I've already been in contact with your team via email. Joining today. Right on. Awesome. Thanks, Renee. Glad you enjoyed the webinar as well. Dalton, great question. You said, you mentioned the importance of niche marketing. Should I take a chance on a really out there concept without knowing if there's a weirdly specific audience for it? I'd say yes. I'm a big fan of being too specific versus not enough. I really don't think there's such a thing as too specific, because there's always someone that's going to resonate with your message. And what's interesting is most people try to please everyone and they please no one. So I would take a chance on it. Worst case scenario, it doesn't do as well as you'd hoped, and you can write another book really, really easily. But my guess would be that's not the case. I mean, it just depends on your book topic, but I would go for it, because the thing that happens, Dalton, is it really isn't even about the book so much as the process of going through the book. And I know it's funny for someone like me to say that I run a program called Self-Publishing School, and I'm telling you it's not about the book. Well, what I see time and time again is that it's the transformation that our students go through, and you see them just light up. It's by the time they get the book out, it's like, I've already got my money's worth and then some, like 10x. And this has been just a life transformational process. My life's never going to be the same. So it's the process of going through it. And then what you'll realize once you get to the end, you can repeat it pretty easily. Awesome. Gloria said, this is great. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. This is my first step. Thank you. Awesome, Gloria. Great to have you. Now keep your questions coming in, guys. If you haven't already, head over to self-publishingschool.com/webinar. I've put that link in the chat box. But just head on over to there. You can go figure out which program or which package is right for you. If you need a payment plan or anything like that, go ahead and go through, put in your information, and sign up. And then, like I said, we actually have a community hangout tonight, so I could even see you back on a hangout answering questions and stuff tonight too. So go ahead and check that out. Keep the questions coming. All right. RL, this is a follow-up question. So he said, does CreateSpace own the ISBN? Yes, if you go through CreateSpace. So yes, so you can always buy your own ISBN if you want to. I haven't found that to be an issue. Awesome. Rebecca's in, said, join but haven't got an email. It should just take a few minutes, Rebecca. The only thing on this, if you have a Hotmail, for some reason, those sometimes have trouble going through, like deliverability, but should just take a couple minutes, should get it. Oh, cool. And then I see you got it. Yay. Awesome. All right. Okay, so a couple people asking this question. So about choosing the Pro version and then upgrading later. So yes, you can always do that. So you can choose Pro and then upgrade. So I think it was Aubrey and Cindy asked this question. Is like, hey, if I need more help, can I upgrade? Yes, you can. So that's actually what a lot of people do. They join the program and like, man, this Chandler guy, I don't know if I can trust him, or I don't, you know, like they're skeptical or they're on the fence and they're like, all right, I'll do the pro. And then they get in and their mind's just blown because it really is an amazing program with amazing people. We've got a great community in there, and they're like, okay, I see all these people gaining from the value of coaching, so yeah, I'll upgrade. Only disadvantage there is you miss out on a month of the coaching, but it is prorated, so for missing out on that. So hopefully that makes sense. But I think it's you get one and only one opportunity to upgrade, and I think that comes right about the 32-day mark. So that's kind of how it works. We have a lot of people that do that. Okay. Leslie asks, oh, Brandon asked, did I miss my question? Brandon, if I missed it, just repost it. This would be a good opportunity. If I missed your question earlier in the webinar, just repost it. It probably got buried because there's a lot of stuff coming through. Harriet said, this is good information. Appreciate it. Thank you, Harriet. All right, back to Leslie. Is it harder to market when you're using a pen name? It can be a little bit. Just depends. I mean, I know people like my buddy Steve Scott. That's a pen name for him, and he makes 20 to 50 grand a month off of his ebooks. And he has different pen names for different genres. So that's one way to do it, especially if you're going fiction. Pen names are pretty common. So it just depends. Some of our people use pen names. Excuse me, I'm not a huge fan of pen names. Personally, I like putting my name on it. If I'm going to put a lot of hard work into it, I like to put my name on it to build my personal brand and build myself as an authority, like we've done with Book Launch and so many other books. So that's my personal preference, but at the end of the day, that's up to you. All right. Darius said, are you guys hiring in San Diego? We're hiring a ton right now. We're growing like crazy, but all of our employees are virtual. So we've got some positions. You'll see them come through email every now and then because the business is growing a lot. So, oh man, this is awesome. Thank you, Cindy. Cindy says, thank you. This program is just what I am looking for. It's like you send out the need in the universe in this webinar and your program arrives. That's awesome. Cindy, we're going to make it a great 2016. Excited to have you in the program. All right. Aubrey says, awesome. Thanks for all this. Okay, cool. We got some follow-up questions on pen names. I'm going to hit that real quick. And with that, I'll just take a last call for questions. So if you'll just post your final questions in the chat box right now. So, so the clarification on pen names, Rebecca said, what about a pen name for a memoir? And then Leslie said, Leslie said, how to use a pen name because of the subject matter. And then Gloria said, why would a person use a pen name? So all kind of talking on the same thing. So totally understand this. A lot of times for memoirs, that can be appropriate because maybe you're saying something that would make you uncomfortable or would make other people uncomfortable. So I totally get that. You choose what's best for you. Sometimes in memoirs as well, it's easier just to not use the name of the person and to change the name, and the names can be changed, and that's fine. We have a lot of people ask about that in the program, and it's perfectly fine telling that story. And you can even use the name. It's a free country, free speech, so you can even use the name in the book. That's just a personal preference, though. Whether or not you want to change the names to respect people's privacy, and especially if you ask and they're fine with it, that's fine. That's 100% up to you on a memoir. But those are kind of your options there. All right. Brandon said, I know this works, but I don't think I'm in the right state of mind to write my first book. What would you suggest? Yeah, Brandon, that's a tough question. I mean, that's up to you. that's your call, man. I'm not really sure what's going on with you, what's going on in your life. That's kind of only you can answer that question. I know that sometimes people have tough things going in their life, maybe even tough things that they need to write about. And sometimes it can be very therapeutic to write that book. It's almost like going to therapy. Writing that book, it's your time to really sit and think and express words out on the page. It's your time to kind of do that. But yeah, that's 100% up to you, man. I mean, I know a lot of times people feel like the timing isn't right. We joked about that at the top of the webinar. I mean, it's your call. I'm a big fan of starting before you're ready or before you 100% feel like it's the right time. But like I said, up to you. Darius asked, how do you determine your pricing? It depends on your genre. I would look at other books in your genre, see what's happening there, see how they do and what they're priced at. And you can either A, fill the void, so price your book accordingly, differently, excuse me, or you can price the book in the same range. So a lot of times we'll start a book out at 99 cents, then go up to $2.99, then $3.99, then even higher. Just depends. And it also depends on the purpose for your book. So is it for leads or to grow your business or authority? Okay, well then I'm going to be less concerned about the book royalties and more concerned about just moving more copies, right? So that's kind of what comes into play there. All right, Aubrey said, I totally agree with Cindy. Awesome. Great to have you guys. So we just had someone else join. Awesome. Rebecca asks, do you help us with legal stuff that has to go on the front? So good news is there's way less legal stuff than you think. Actually, this is one thing that people stress out about, and they think that it's like, I don't know. They think there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background, but there's way less than you think. It's all can be done simply. And a lot of that's even taken care of by publishing through Amazon. So there's assumed copyright laws here in the US and elsewhere. We've got templates for everything that you need to put in your book and all that good stuff. So we got templates for that you can put in for the filler pages, for the filler content and stuff like that. Rebecca said, I feel like I found my new, in parentheses, professional family. Thanks. That is awesome. Just wait till you get in the community. It's a fun crew. We have a lot of fun. Okay, last couple questions here. All right. All right, cool. Well, looks like answered pretty much all of them. Well, I've got another call in about 2 minutes, and I've got to scarf down some lunch. So thank you guys for coming on here. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Try to pack this with a ton of value, with a ton of teaching up front. So I try to make this just as value as possible. Hopefully you got, if nothing else, you got a ton of notes and you've got some actionable steps that you can take right after this webinar, whether you join Self-Publishing School or not. So you can get started on that mind map. You can get started writing that book, and you can check this book off of your bucket list so that you can make 2016 the best year ever for you. And I know that doing a book for yourself, it's going to truly make it the best year ever for yourself. So I'm excited to see you guys go on this journey. I'm excited for the people who have joined during this webinar. Pumped to have you guys on board. If you have any further questions, you can contact support at self-publishingschool.com. We got an awesome team over there, always happy to help. And if you haven't already, go ahead and head over to www.self-publishingschool.com/webinar. Check it out. Decide which version of the program's right for you, and go ahead and join now before the end of the year. Make that commitment so that we can start the year strong. Thank you so much, guys. Hope that you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you all real soon. See ya.